probably one of the most important debates of this generation in relation to drug use. Why it took 3 years in the lifetime of this government beggars belief. And we've seen other models across the world, such as Portugal. They've saved lives, and I've said in this chamber many times, if it can save one life, then a change of policy is worthwhile.
I have a condition called endometriosis, and I've been suffering with that since the age of 8. I didn't actually get diagnosed till I was 21. And even when I got diagnosed, I naively thought that, oh, this is great now, at least I know what it is, everything is going to be fine. But everything got much worse. I had surgery in Romania in December. I was actually over there on my own for Christmas. It was a huge surgery. I had endometriosis deep infiltrate in my diaphragm. It was 50 millimeters, quite extensive. My lung was in trouble if I didn't get it sorted. So my name is Aimee Brown, and I am part of the Cannabis Activist Alliance. I am also part of Patients for Safe Access, and both are working towards cannabis reform, but obviously both have their own specific kind of agendas. But the overall goal is to have cannabis removed from the Misuse of Drugs Act. I ended up having to go abroad for surgical treatment. I was left on, it was 450 milligrams of Palexia. That's an end-of-life drug, and I was 26. I didn't feel like I should have to go abroad for a cannabis medication to treat my condition long-term. And so that's what really drove my fight for access here. The MCAP program is restricted to only 3 conditions, and that's intractable nausea associated with chemotherapy, a specific kind of epilepsy, and spasticity associated with MS. So not if you've got chronic pain with MS, you have to wait until you have spasticity before you can qualify for the MCAP program. So it's really, really restrictive. But there was another route called the ministerial license route, and that was where if you could get a pain consultant to sign off that you have exhausted all other treatments, then you can apply for a cannabis license. And that's what I had to do. I waited 5 years for my first appointment with the first pain specialist, and he told me to emigrate. And I told him that's fine for me, but what about the other 1 in 10 women with endometriosis that could benefit from this treatment? I wouldn't give up. I went back to my GP and I said, look, I need you to refer me to another. Actually, I'd gotten a new GP in the interim, that's what it was. And so he referred me to 2 other pain clinics. One in Cork, who I knew had previously prescribed for chronic pain, so I thought I was really in with a chance. And then the other in Limerick, just in case that might come up quicker. And it did come up quicker. I'm actually still haven't heard from Cork. It's a good few years later. The guy in Limerick didn't even know about cannabis as such. He said, oh no, I'm not signed up for that. You know, I really explained the ins and outs of what it entailed, and I think he was that impressed by my knowledge and that I was so well versed that he really considered what I was saying. But he didn't get on board straight away. He said he'd consider the information I brought to him, and would I consider going with his treatment routes first, which I said fair enough. Like, he heard me out, so that was amazing in itself. So I tried a couple of procedures with him, and unfortunately the pain still persisted. It wasn't very effective. And so he eventually then decided that he would apply for the chronic pain license. The ministerial license, sorry, for chronic pain. Currently, the medication I'm prescribed is cannabis flower, and I have a dry herb vaporizer. I don't use it all that often. I do prefer to smoke it. I do so through rolling it in a blunt without tobacco, or I consume it through a bong or a pipe, again with no tobacco. However, some days it's not enough. Like, the chronic pain is that severe. I have different symptoms on different days, and I don't know what way I'm going to be from one day to the next. And so sometimes I still have to rely on the unregulated market for edibles. The smoking is just not going to kill the pelvic pain the way an edible will. I do have to take that sometimes, and also I take CBD oil every day, which is great, but it's no good really on its own. I personally, I need the THC ratio with CBD, and then I have the pharmaceutical medication that I have to take rarely. Thankfully, at this stage, it is a lot more rare. I feel it's been the only consistency that I've had for 15 years. I started consuming when I was 15, and it's the only thing that's been consistent in my life. My medical stuff hasn't been consistent. I've been all over the place. The medications, like some of them made me feel so suicidal. It was worse than the pain. Cannabis didn't cause any of that. It helps like with the neuropathic pain, it helps with the nausea, it helps give me an appetite. You can take all the cannabis in the world and you won't overdose. It just makes no sense to me that it's not available readily for any patient or any adult that wants to consume it. If you benefit in any way therapeutically, be it you're more psychosocial, more relaxed, you're less anxious, for whatever reason it is, if you benefit from cannabis and you're an adult, you should be allowed to do so. I feel like, how much longer do I have to justify myself for? Like, I'm 20 years in chronic pain and I'm only 30. Like, how long do I have to put up with that? At what point is the onus on others to educate themselves instead of being judgmental? Do you know?